Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us in this APPI focus on ARV Learn by Doing. And as always, we start with a topic which is related. Today's topic is the fun path. Consciousness is fundamental. And so we will be doing a lot of focus on enjoying ARVing and enjoying life. Okay, so here's our outline. First half hour will be our topic. And then we will do a tutorial on ARV for newbies and oldies. And then the next hour and a half will be an actual prediction, analysis, and feedback. So you'll go through the whole ARV process, and we do this with a dice throw online craps so that it can happen fast, so you can get feedback right away. Now, learning fun and love is so different at different ages. That's part of our life and maturing. And in all of these, feeling the most positive emotions as you can is very valuable for a sustained fun path. And we'll have a lot more to say about this. You know, I love this graphic. You know, the kids and the kid with the mother are wonderful. But this sort of says when you're very, very young, you're having fun, you're feeling good. And then as you get older and you do great things with your dad, learning how to ride a bicycle, you do things which are fun for you and creative as you get a bit older. And then you get into these years, teenage years, early 20s. And of course you have fun, but in a different fashion and a lot of fun with friends. But in none of these, and generally not in here, but recently, not always, you're just enjoying it. You're enjoying your fun. You're not thinking about some of the deeper things we're going to be talking about shortly. And that's great. You know, you're getting as much healthy enjoyment out of life as possible. Now, not everybody does that. And there are many who are learning, I would call it unfun, the unfun path. They feel these negative emotions. And I think it's difficult, but still possible to get to the fun path. In fact, we know a lot of people do it. But this is more of a challenge because when you're young is when you're setting up these abilities to have fun. Now, there are many fun paths. You know, you can have a musical fun path. You can have mathematics fun path, a history fun path, going to college, enjoying that, becoming whatever your profession is and enjoy it. Abraham Hicks had this wonderful summary. You will know your path by the fun of it. And you're going to hear this in different ways to follow your emotions to get you onto the fun path and going to what we're going to tell you more about, but that'll be among the deepest levels of consciousness is up in the joy path. Now, emotions, feelings, and intuition, these are inside jobs. These are all key. They all start on the inside. This is way too simple a model, but we often talk about the left brain being the day-to-day, very important, of course. You're getting day-to-day living logic. The right brain has more of a connection with the deepest parts of you, creativity, recognizing faces, imaginations, but this is just one way of breaking these things down. Other people do it in different ways. What I want to focus on here is this conscious. Some people will just say emotions, but emotional intelligence is really an important concept, and I want to get into that. Okay, so what's emotional intelligence? According to Goldman, American psychologist who he popularized this idea, there are 5 key elements to emotional intelligence. Self-aware, and I love the word emotional intelligence because it shows there's a crossover between the right brain and the left brain. But it's the fact of self-awareness is important. You need to know that it's you that are having these emotional feelings and how you're going to use it. Need to learn how to regulate it. Have to do motivation with it. Otherwise, why bother? That's the intelligence part. You need to have empathy for yourself and others. Very important in terms of the interaction with others. And that's why he calls out social skills. Another person who investigated this, and so this is being scientifically investigated. Dilawar and his colleagues define emotional intelligence as the ability to understand and regulate one's emotions and to effectively process emotional information. Individuals high in EI, emotional intelligence, enjoy good mental health and are therefore capable of regulating their emotions and making sagacious decisions, sage decisions. Now, sagacious has the synonyms like astute and shrewd. While all these words mean, acute, this is the one which I think is the most important. I'm sorry. Acute in perception and sound in judgment. Sagacious suggests wisdom, penetration, and far-sightedness. So this is the ability with your emotional intelligence to really do have a sense that your choices are connecting you with the future. Now, they might not say this, but I will, because we're into precognition, and I think all of you will understand this, that emotional intelligence includes the wisdom and farsightedness to know information might be coming from the future, that you're connected to the future. The decisions you make now go forward based on things from the past as well as information from the future. Now, all of this actually leads to a very significant concept, which these scientists have actually been able to quantify. And this is called the positivity ratio. And we've concluded, these are all quotes from their work, we've concluded that a ratio of at least 3 to 1, 3 positive emotions for every negative emotion serves as a tipping point, which will help determine whether you languish in life, barely holding on, or flourish, living a life ripe with possibility and remarkably resilient to hard times. And this number 3 is quite interesting, and I'm going to show you another scientist that came up with basically the same conclusion. But there's a lot of logic to that. But this is the first time I've ever seen it quantified, because the first time I ever researched it, is I think we all have a sense that the negative emotions are just hang on longer, they're deeper. We don't like them as much, of course. And I think emotional intelligence is part of learning how to deal with them and maybe moving them to the neutral or to the positive side. So this is 3 positive emotions for every negative emotion, and that's a tipping point. And here, Losado, who also studied this with different groups. He was really into groups and teams. And I thought it was interesting. He did college students, but notice the flourishing is right around 3. I was a little surprised that nursing home residents were right there. I guess pretty happy, which was not my intuition, but that was his study showed. And marriages and business teams are way up here near 6. It's interesting. He specifically says if you're so Pollyannish, you never acknowledge the negative, maybe you're actually in danger. But the key here is he acknowledges 3 to 1 positive emotions to negative. Now, as I've said, there are many different paths. I'm connecting this, and I think a lot of you are, if you're here, are connecting this to ARV. And the 3 to 1 is interesting because that would be 3 hits to 1 miss in the crudest sense, and that's 75%. And that'd be great if we can get there. Most people are not at 75%, and learning how to deal with your misses is important, and we'll be talking a bit more about that. Okay, emotions, emotional intelligence, emotions. This is one person, and there are other people who put out this idea of really negative emotions, here called contractive emotions, versus expanded emotions, leading to kind of an ultimate consciousness. But all of this is in emotional space. This is the omega point, and we're going to be talking about that. It's the omega. It's not shown here as a point. Sometimes it's actually talked about as a point, but it's the place of ultimate consciousness. What is that? Maybe gurus and some people have reached a nirvana state. Maybe that's ultimate consciousness. I don't know. I've never experienced that, but you have a sense of more joyful consciousness than we have when we're down here. And notice love, joy, peace, happiness, love, those sorts of things, which are very young. Hopefully you get a lot of. You're in this place, and you're beginning to set up the knowledge of how to do that. And as you get older, you want to be able to do it consciously and make conscious choices to get there. Now, there's something here called reason. We really are in an emotional set here. And by reason, I think they mean purpose, the reason something is done or created. So you have an emotional attachment to some purpose. You want to do something with some purpose. Okay, neutrality is like 250. But if you're way down here, if you can get yourself to move up to neutrality or higher, you're assisting yourself. All of us go through periods of those negative emotions, and then you want to turn them around and spend more time and energy up here. Now, this really is the way it was put out here as hertz, vibrational hertz. Love, joy, and peace are like 500 to 600, and above that, you're approaching enlightenment. Now, these emotions are the highest, I'll call them sacred emotions. They vibrate at the highest frequencies. But these are not frequencies like in physical space. They're inner frequencies. The universe of collective consciousness, which is the source of vibrations, understands these frequencies. And so I think, having a chart like this to give you this idea of getting up to these high frequencies internally is what's important. They must resonate with your positive emotion. It's an inside job with you and the UCC. I don't believe just listening to these high frequencies, and there are plenty of them out there that'll tell you they'll move you in this direction, and maybe they'll help, especially and probably, in my opinion, only if you let them influence you on the inside and want that to happen and increase the energy up here. Okay, so this inner joy, love, and peace, which is what we're talking about, it all starts inside. It's an inside job. We don't realize that somewhere within us all, there does exist a supreme self who is eternally at peace. Eternally at peace. And that is this omega with the emotions. And this is such a wonderful concept, which I hope all of us can believe deeper and deeper, in that this peaceful place, joyous place, loving place is within us. And yes, we're going to be talking about a consciousness tipping point and all of that for society, but it all starts with the fact that there's this emotion, supreme self, who is eternally at peace within each of us. And that's our job, is to find that within us. Okay, now there's one other concept that I just have to tie in here, and it is so, so important, and that is inertia. And there's inertia in this deepest part of each of us, which is the universe of collective consciousness, which is pure ideas. Everything that touches consciousness is in there. We are in there. Our whole lives are in there. Okay. But let's talk about inertia in us. It's very prevalent and important in our lives. In the physical universe, it concerns mass and not changing momentum. Momentum is mass times velocity. Okay, so you have more inertia if you have more mass, or if you're moving very, very, very fast. But you can change that inertia with physical forces. If I'm out in space and I throw a ball, or I'm in a zero G spacecraft, it'll go in the same direction until it hits a wall or out in space forever. If you do it here, gravity is the external force that turns it down. But the inertia is to continue going in the same direction until you have physical forces on it. That's the physical universe. In the non-physical universe, in the UCC, inertia concerns not changing ideas. Ideas have inertia. Beliefs and emotional intelligence have inertia. What changes those are conscious willpower. So much of our lives go on with inertia. We couldn't live without inertia. Hey, your heart beats. Everything that goes on with something that complicated goes on with inertia. When you walk across the street, you learned that when you were young, to look both ways and that sort of thing, to be safe. You do that without hardly thinking about it. That's inertia. Here's a definition, which I love: the tendency to do nothing or remain unchanged. That's a great definition for both the physical and the non-physical universe. And one of the synonyms here is laziness. It's very easy to do nothing. If you do what you always do, you get what you always get. The same old thinking, the same old results. You need to take action. And action starts at the deepest levels within you. It's an inside job. Connects up with the universal collective consciousness with intentions. And that's what it takes to change your current inertial path with the path that you're on. I mean, and one of the big things is to change your limiting beliefs. But notice you need to recognize that they're limiting, because then you set your intentions to change them in the direction you want. And guess what direction? The direction towards Omega. Okay, so I want to try to make this even clearer. This idea of Omega, the highest level of emotions, of joy, love, happiness, all the kinds of things which most of us really want as much of as we can get in our lives. Now, this is an attractor if and only if you want it to be. In other words, your intention needs to be, this is what I want. And that's not at an intellectual level, that's got to be at a very deep level. So if this is you now, and this is your psychic you, the one that's connected with your deep self, here you are now, and here's an opportunity to make a choice on something that comes up in your life. How do you handle a challenge that your boss gave you? Or in our ARV work, how do you handle a miss? How do you handle a hit? What do you do to move you towards Omega? And then you've got another one. And these are all conscious choices in future now moments. So you're not going by emotion. In the now moment, you only get to have choices in now moments, right? The collection of all your now moments is your life. And making these choices with will. So these are conscious choices using your free will. You get to make them, another one in the future, another one in the future, many of them in the future. Back here is sort of the basic thing that goes on in the UCC. All of this stuff is in there, and you're entangled to it. You have your inertia. You have your background of emotions, and your future ones are in here too. You have expectations, intentions, attentions, your beliefs and thoughts. And the ones that are the strongest connected to you in each of these nows are the ones that your free will give you a chance to change the inertia and move closer to this. Okay. So the UCC, which is this blue, is everything consciousness touches. I don't know how else to put it. It's a universe of collective consciousness. Anything that has any consciousness is in here, past, present, future, anywhere in the universe. There are no boundaries, because if you think of something which you say, oh, it's outside, you've immediately thought of it. You've immediately sensed it. So it's inside. So this is completely connected. It's the ultimate oneness, but notice it's non-physical. All these other things with the black around them are fuzzy boundaries. Even Omega has a fuzzy boundary around it because we're the ones who give it meaning. Now, the whole physical world arises from the UCC. So that's how fundamental the UCC is. Okay, so you did your path, but here's another person, person A, and they are on their own life path and they make their choices. But if their choices are to go to the same Omega, and then we have a third person, and maybe this person actually had a nirvana experience, but they're doing that as well. I now want to give you my sense of what that means. we're now rotating this, and all of the people are forming an entangled vortex, just like in physical space, having these things in a plane, two-dimensional, that would, in the three-dimensional world, it's almost natural to turn, to change, to form a vortex. So that's what I intended to show with this turning. And the turning, notice, would always be pointing towards omega. Now, entanglement is a big part of this because you want to be entangled with this omega. So all of your nows are in here. Here's your now, here's a future now, and you can get a sense of that future now and move in that direction. As I said, in the now, when you're aware of, hey, I have a choice now and I can go more towards this than I usually do. I don't want to go with my inertia. Or you can just meditate and do this, go towards omega. People are doing combinations of things all the time. ARV happens to be a good vehicle for testing this, but that's a small part of your life. You spend what, an hour doing ARV a day, 2 hours, something like that. You've got the rest of your life. So your consciousness is creating, and a quantum mechanics theorist called it a handshake between now and your future. You can enhance that entanglement and consciously choose a change in some aspect of your inertia to more closely approach omega. I know I've said this many times, but I think it is so key. Now I'm going to say it again in a different way. When we were rotating, this was part of the rotation, and rotations always have an axis on them pointing towards, in our case, the omega with the emotions. But here was another part of the rotation. Here was another one. Notice, in addition to you getting closer and closer, the group, remember this was a whole group of people, the omega itself, in my opinion, is getting stronger and stronger in the UCC. So we are increasing the strength of that, and that ultimately is going to lead to a tipping point of some sort. Now, I just want to give you an example of rotations. It turns out I just found this one. I mean, I've known, and I think you probably have known, that supermassive black holes form with a lot of rotation and material gets sucked in. But the one at the heart of our Milky Way is actually, he calls it here, beating faster than ever. So as you feed these vortices, you get yourself this pointing thing towards something. It comes out from the rotating energy, and it focuses in something like one new direction, which is basically perpendicular to all of this, but it's something new. And I've just called that, sort of whimsically, a black hole omega. I don't know what the meaning of that is or what it's pointing to, but it's definitely pointing to something. Now, in consciousness space, this rotating, this entangling joyful intentions, beliefs, etc., with others and increasing them in yourself does create this fun path. And this idea of rotations is everywhere. Tornadoes, hurricanes, Even in shells of Molex, I think this is a Molex shell. Look at the tendency, starting out small. This is where it starts and it grows into this full living entity. All that happens in time. Here's a quote from Edgar Casey's manual. They kept very good notes on what he said. Keep your mental attitude constructive, one that will look more and more for the bright or constructive forces in your life. Just what we said, summarized it beautifully. Go for the omega, go for the joy, go for the love. This is a helpful influence. And then he concludes with, and the source of real help comes from within. You have to do this. This is a wonderful personal task. Okay, and then my final slide here, the definition of consciousness singularity point as it applies to you. So Clearwin defined it in terms of computers, and I always thought of it as quantum computers, and I still do, a point at which quantum computers write their own update versions. Now, what I have to remind you of is that you are a very, very, very advanced quantum computer with your own free will to update yourself. That is to modify, update your inertia. That is just what, the Matrix, Terminator, they always had a very large amount of negativity in it, but the 3-to-1 positive always came out okay. But and I've had other talks on this. It's really important to get that you are a quantum computer. You are non-local. How else could you do precognition? You have the ability to get information from what we call the future. This now is connected to the future. That's what makes you non-local. That's what shows you are indeed a quantum computer. Non-quantum anything's computers can't do anything like that. So you being a quantum computer, and you have this ability with your own free will to modify and update your inertia, do it. Get as close to that as you can. And if you wish to, you can point yourself towards the highest level of consciousness all the time. Do that with ARV for sure. You have every opportunity to do that when you do your feedback sessions. Feedback sessions are perfect times to point yourself towards your highest omega level of consciousness. And then I do believe that there's a personal omega consciousness. That's the one that you're going to be pointing to. That's the one that you sense. And I think it is connected to the more global one that involves everyone else. If enough of us are pointing in roughly the same consciousness direction, then we can be part of a consciousness singularity point for society. Okay, so questions, comments? Did that make sense? Okay, you certainly don't have to make comments. I hope you got the ideas though, because I think they were very and are very important.
Marty, I do have a comment.
Hi, Kathy.
I think it's Joe Gallenberger. He talks about, is it Psychic Vegas? He builds up his energy and he does a lot of consciousness and love. Um, does a lot of meditating. Is this kind of the same thing?
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Yeah. If you want to say more, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, that's great because it sounded like Joe Gallenberger. I also do meditation. I've gone back to the Theravada form. I did Zen for 10 years, and they do a lot with the metta practice and dealing with the hindrances in order to develop a clear, calm mind. And that kind of reminds me of this too.
Yep, that's to get that peacefulness. Joe has done a couple, at least two, one workshop physically in Vegas, and then he's done one, I think we were in New Orleans, the one time we went to New Orleans. And yes, he doesn't quite talk about this in quite the big picture way, but he definitely talks about this and making it real for you. Get yourself in a very loving place, basically make an attachment to a slot machine. He does almost all of his work with slot machines or dice. And anyway, so yeah, he definitely is on the exact same ideas as we've talked about here. Okay, thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything they want to add? Okay, let's go on to a summary of associative remote viewing for newbies and oldies. And we've introduced positive feedback, which goes along with everything we were just talking about. The idea of putting this in here, and I'll tell you about that shortly, was to increase the number of positives you have and decrease the number of negative emotions you experience. So first, let's look at this ARV in linear time. So it starts out with a remote viewing session. This is a legitimate remote viewing session whose task is describe and or sketch your, and we start with a 6-digit coordinate. And when we do this, each of you are going to get your new coordinate. And that is, I don't know how to put it, entangled as strongly as you can with the feedback target and nothing else. So this number is sort of like a telephone number, if you will. That's another analogy I give. You know, you dial a telephone number and you expect to get a household. With mobiles, you expect to get a specific person. That would be your equivalent of feedback. Here, you are going to get a feedback target associated with that coordinate. Now, later in time, you in fact have your feedback session when you see your feedback target. And we now, in a way which is called front-loaded, are going to have you do the exact same thing. Describe and or sketch your XX feedback target. Now, of course, you know it. That's why it's front-loaded. And different people handle it in different ways. We don't ever want anybody to just, trace it. But after you look at it, you pick up the major features. We call these gestalts, first impression gestalts, like when you first saw it. And we'll have you circle not only the first impression gestalts, but other things that you had on your transcript that matched. You feel really good about that. So during the feedback session, you make it as positive as possible. And in fact, we only encourage you to do it if it's a hit. If it's a miss, go on with the rest of your life. That's the way you limit the negative emotions. But the key is in classical ARV, here's where you do your feedback session. You know the truth point. That's classical, actually, remote viewing, except sometimes you don't even get feedback. In ARV, you always get feedback because in between these two in time is the analysis judging of the remote viewing transcript versus two possibilities which are associated with two I'm first going to say investment choices because that's how it's being used now. You make an investment of a binary investment, can be up or down, up or not up, which is down. And we have limits and stops and all that, but however you define up or down, there are only two choices. And when you make your prediction, which is before the action starts, those are the two possibilities, only two possibilities. Now, how do we use that to make investments? Well, since there are two possible choices, we have two possible targets. One is associated with up, and I bet you can guess what the other one is associated with. Right. The other one is associated with down. So when the analyst who has access to the transcript of the person he's analyzing, and sometimes it's self-analysis, will look at the transcript, gets to look at the two possible, notice the words here are possible targets, because clearly there's going to be only one outcome. And the actual target shown during the feedback session will always be associated with the actual up or down outcome, period, always. And so if someone's got a really good session, they seem to have matched and not only the major gestalts, water, land, action, and also got a lot of words that match more of the details. Obviously, if that was up, you would then predict up. You would predict that target that was associated with up. Now, interestingly enough, you wouldn't even know this until this phase is over because all of this is random. All you would provide is, gee, this is a great match to photosite A, and this might be photosite B, but those are mixed randomly. Sometimes this is photosite B, sometimes this is photosite A. So this is the step that makes associative remote viewing unique. You are associating up or down with two possible targets. Now, after you do that, you've made a prediction. You can now notice before the feedback session, you can make an investment if you wish. You've made a prediction of up or down, and you can then make an investment before the outcome occurs. So again, we're in linear time. Okay, now here's something that we've added from the classical, and that you only do a hit you only do feedback if you have a hit. We call this positive feedback protocol. And why not? Here you're going to be, if you got a hit, you're going to be really happy. We're going to have you reinforce your hit. If you get a miss and even a pass, but that's sort of up to your choice, we recommend you go on with your day and give it as little negative energy as possible. And if you recognize some of the negative energy, there's always an oh shit if you get a miss, let's say, you might turn that around and say, hey, this is something I'm really enjoying. And yeah, sure, I know I'm going to get misses from time to time, but in the long term, man, I'm going to get up at 75% or whatever number seems reasonable to you, 65%. I'm going to continually get better. Turn it into something positive. I love that I'm doing this. I'm doing cutting edge consciousness work. So only for the hit will we recommend you do the feedback target in any detail. In fact, you might not even look when you find out. In fact, I recommend you don't look. Okay, now what we're going to do is craps. So for the craps, we'll be able to do that here, and it is quick. and we will do the positive feedback protocol with it because we can do this all in an hour and a half. And I do want to point out that with our protocol, the winning entanglement protocol, the WE protocol, you can actually use other means to make a prediction of photosite A versus photosite B, because that's all you'll know. You won't know which one is up or down, which is we do it on purpose. We just want you to associate it with the correct photo. Some people use a pendulum, dowsing. Other people use this body signals. They hold up their arm, and if it's stiff, I guess that's a no or yes. I don't know. They know. There are other systems out there. Some people are using dreams to tell them something about the photosite. They'll actually describe the photosite in their dreams. So I just wanted you to know that as well. And remember, what we're doing is successful, purposeful precognition really begins with your feedback session. This is where the information comes from when you start with your tasking back here in time. And almost everybody, in fact, I'd say everybody who has done enough of these, and usually 10's enough, gets such a good result that they know it came from here when they do their feedback session and they match, 80% of what was on their transcript. You just know that the precognition is real, and that gets you pretty excited because you really are at the cutting edge of consciousness. Now, photosite targets, the actual target is a photosite. Now, this refers to the specific photographed site location at the specific time the photo was taken. And consciousness is expected to gather information from the target photo, and or you can move to that site at the time the photo was taken. A lot of people like to do that because they do other psychic work, CRV work, other work, where they're tasked to get things outside this area. For ARV, no, 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 no. Don't go up and get a big view. If it's outside this target, we don't care. If there's a whale jumping out here, if you give us information about that, it's useless. How will the judge know that? The judge only sees this, and your job is to describe what is obviously verified from the photos. What seems to come up most often, and we give it now 50% value in the analysis analytics, is first impression Gestalt. If you were to look at that target very quickly, what is the very, very first impression you get? Is it something like water? Is it 3? Is it white, outside? Whatever you get, those are first impression and Gestalt. And then you also likely to get more details about the visuals, sounds, smells, tastes, tactile sensations. Emotions are often associated with the sites, ideas, etc. After you've done several remote viewing sessions, you realize you can get virtually anything. So, okay, so that is what a photo site is, just what's in here. However, again, positive feedback, that should be on the top, positive feedback. The other aspect of this, which we've introduced, is a harsh analysis with Gestalt. And what that means is in this area right here, there are no people. Now, you can make a pretty good assumption that there are people back here. Just the other day, I was informed of a study that's going on where they would say if there are no people in there, if a person said people, no credit at all. You give zero credit for that, what we call elements. A transcript is made up of elements, sketches and words. Um, Period. We have an approach that would allow you to give half a point for this rather than a full point, which you would give for, round, white, motion. Clearly, you would know there's motion in here and that sort of thing. So, you and your judge might decide otherwise, but Hag is doing it that way, and I'll have more to say about that. And remember, you're only doing your hit feedback target for positive if you get a hit. And then on this, practice, practice, practice. I believe that's really important. Joe McMonagle used to do 6 sessions a day. Use it or lose it. Other people think you can overdo it. And what I say is, if you've got a sense you're overdoing it, take a break. In other words, you should be self-monitoring yourself and your emotions for that. If you get a sense, you know what, I think I'm doing this too much now. I want to take a break. Maybe I think that's why my last miss was like that, or my last good hit. I think I've done enough. I need to take a break. It's you. This is all about you and your emotional intelligence. Okay, I'm going to try to define, and I will define this positive feedback protocol. Only do feedback session if you have a hit. I think I've said that enough. But then during your feedback session, you obviously have your RV transcript, but you also have the feedback target, the correct one. So joyfully mark your correct elements. I always like to circle mine. Some people draw arrows on them. You can put a marker on it. Some people don't like to mess up their original transcript and make a copy and do it on that. But you really want to connect up with all those elements that you got right with your target. And there might have been some that your judge didn't mark, or you didn't mark as a self-judge. If they're right now, because now you can see it, oh, that was what I meant, take credit for it and feel really good for it because you had a great session. This is key. You now do a new feedback session with a new transcript. This is like the transcript you wish you had done using your remote viewing style. It's not a tracing. You do a new remote viewing session and you describe and or sketch your hit target. You allow all the entanglement that goes on with that entanglement, and you add new entanglement. Let's say you miss the dominant color. This is your time to put that color in and focus on it and say, basically to yourself, hey, next time I have this color, give me the word or the sense of that color. Here's a shape. Here's an idea. It was inside, outside. There was action, no action. Whatever you got, repeat it from up here, but then there's probably some new stuff in a somewhat better way to describe that target. And again, with this omega point, omega consciousness idea, add love and joy. It's always personal. Consciously choose positive emotions and feelings. And then I always, if you are using ARV in any way to wager wisely for the long term. Get rich slowly. If you get an edge over chance, you get up to 65, 70, 75%, you just get rich slowly. Why rush it? If you become a Precog Pro and you get in our Precog Pro program, just relax, don't add any tension, and get rich slowly. Just get over, enough so you get paid. Once you're in, you've earned yourself enough that you're in, so you know you can do it. Just continue to do it. And sometimes that's a challenge. And I don't know why, but what I do know, it's all inside you. To just continue doing well. And now you know you're earning money. You don't have to do anything in terms of wagering on the market. You just have to pay attention to your remote viewing, do it, and earn money. The primary benefit of ARV in applying precognition is allowing a strong working relationship with your subconscious mind, a very positive one. Your subconscious mind, higher self, the matrix, the UCC, God, whatever you want to call these non-physical, non-local aspects of you and the universe. I mean, I feel as you do this, getting a sense of this bigger you, the some people call it an alter consciousness, a super consciousness, the matrix, whatever you want to call it. Having a sense of that is so important. I mean, and valuable for the rest of your life. Okay, questions on that? Yeah, thank you, Kathy. And I see a lot of people do come for the topic and they feel they know enough. But let's get into our prediction now. And because there's a lot of fun in doing that. So the no questions and what I just did. So let's do a new prediction. First of all, are any of you brand new to this group? I know Jane isn't. I don't think, Donna, are you actually in the workshop group? Well, if you are, just so you can get the announcements of new ones. In fact, I already have people who put in predictions. They don't need to come here to put in a prediction and they'll get feedback. So if you don't think you're actually in the workshop group, I'll add you now. But if you're all in, we'll just move on. Just put your email in the chat box and I'll copy it and add you here. Okay, so you all are in. Okay, but you want to do a prediction. Excellent. So let's go back. Okay, so ARV is a natural capability, and relax and I'll just allow it to happen. Having a positive intention, attention, and expectation in the physical and non-physical. It's just not intellectual. You have to feel it and allow information flow via your sub to and from the UCC. All that is, etc. This idea of quiet concentration, it almost sounds like an oxymoron, but it is not. The deep part of you is really focused on the task, and you're enjoying a positive, fun place outside of space and time. That's your mindset. Yes, a small part of you remains in the physical world, enough to do your transcript, but that's its only job, is to put stuff down on a sheet of paper for a transcript. Okay, and that permits your enhanced non-local entanglement within your prediction event, both remote viewing and the feedback sessions. Okay, so this is the one we're doing now. It's already been sent out to the webinar workshop people. I don't know if you all had it, but I'm going to give it to you again. It's a yes or no. It's randomly mixed for photo sites A and B. And tasking as always, describe and sketch your target. Here it is. And here the event has been emailed out. We make this as simple as possible. And all you have to do is click here. And it's Will Marty win playing the Kratz pass line on August 4th today. And it's a yes or no, and yes or no are random. So I will click on this now. And in fact, just because there's so few of us, I think maybe I will do a session. I don't do as many sessions as I like. So I'm going to do, all you do is put your name in here. Webinar workshop would be chosen. Oh, and let me, just in case some of you don't have this, let me put it in here. Okay, and then if you click that, you'll get this webinar chosen, and then I'm clicking, and I will now get my coordinate, but this is my personal coordinate attached to my feedback target. So I'm writing it down on a new sheet of paper, which is going to be my transcript. Okay. And each of you should do that now as well, and save that page because we'll be coming back to that page. Okay. So I just showed you this and I did it. Do you each have your coordinates? Hey, if you both want to leave, feel free. If not, I'll go forward. In fact, I want to go forward because I want to see what mine is. And so now the next step is you got this page, which gave you your coordinate, which you put on the top of a transcript. As I said, the people who got this earlier, I have at least 2 who have submitted their transcripts already, but this is a time we'll do it. And now is the time to do a transcript. If you've got some experience, you can feel free to start doing it now, and you'll have plenty of time to do it and even time to have a cup of coffee. But what you do is, I've written the coordinate on the top. I'll say it out loud when I actually start. You always do the preliminaries. On the right, you put your name, today's date, which is 8/4. The time, at least I'm putting on mine, is 1:03. And the group, and this is the webinar workshop group. Okay. And then I like to put an underline. A lot of people don't because I haven't started yet. Your transcript will be here. And I just want to say a word about analytical overlays. Trash. Turns out you're working to get all of your information from the deep UCC and your subconscious. That feels different than when your mental left brain comes in. Just feels different. In fact, that's one of the most beautiful things about what we're doing, because that feels different. And you begin to understand when some information comes in your life, oh, that actually is from my subconscious, and I want to treat that differently than if it's intellectual stuff. We love the intellect, but in ARV, we try to minimize it. So you write it on the right and you call it trash. Now, I'm going to show you for a newbie, and this is an approach I strongly recommend. Tom McNair taught it to us, but he learned it from Ingo Swann. And this is called IAB. I is an ideogram. An ideogram is like a squiggle. It could be a complex squiggle, it could be a simple squiggle, like this one was wavy. It takes no more than 1 or 2 seconds. You write down the coordinate, you do your coordinate. A is a feeling motion, and it's both of those. What was your feeling when you did this about it? Was it hard, soft? you'll actually get stuff which might very well be and often is related to the target. What were your feelings? Down, up, left is what and this is mine. It's one of my very best, and I'd love to share it. I can assure you all of mine are not as good as you're going to see here, but I found it to be a good example that I can, and hopefully you can relate to. This was up, left, multiple. I had multiple lines, and I felt the life form. Green came in afterwards. The IAB is then followed by what's called another stage, and I got green, open, musty. And then I did a second one. I got the sense of a structure, but then I went on here and I never put in a B, and that's out of structure. Tom and Ingo emphasize the only job for the mind is to stay in structure. So if you go out of structure, you take a short break. I then came back and I did wavy, liquid, multiple structures. This looks wavy, of course. I got the sense of liquid and I got the sense of multiple structures. I did it a third time. When Tom does it, he does one almost every time. The most he ever seems to do is two. That connects him to it. And he's done amazing sessions, but I take more. And then I did this last one, which was wavy. And this looks like water. Doesn't always even mean water for me, but it did this time. I got green again and I got murky. And then I did a sketch. A person, looks like a boat. And I am proudly going to show you. Well, first, you're allowing information to come from the UCC and from the UCC to your consciousness. You then number your elements. You do that back for your judge. So this is done actually before the feedback, so that the analyst now, or the analyst does it if you have an analyst, but that's usually you. So in this analyst stage right here now, here's the transcript. The analyst went in and there's the feedback target. And of course, I was very happy with this, with the person, with the canoe in the water. I think multiple structures. See, I would now say that and that. Anyway, I was quite happy with this. When I did my own feedback session, I added motion. Notice I did not get the only color I got was green, and that's not the most dominant color. So I'm sure I added that. In fact, I should see if I could find that. Okay, next step is we're going to do it. And let's do it with mindfulness. Mindfulness is really paying attention to your own mind. Okay, so what's going on with you? And during the session, of course, you're paying attention to the information coming up from your subconscious. And so let's now just get quiet. Just focus on your breathing. I do think the breathing, getting into meditation and quietness is the best. Breathe in and out slowly. Get rid of a lot of the stuff which is in your daily life. Relax. Be happy. Be open. And we're going to do something with HemiSync. Cool down is done in different ways, which is what you do when you start. They both feel it's important. Joe does it, we used to do it with HemiSync. He'd take a few minutes to do that. Tom McNair does a prayer basically to an all-knowing entity, to God. Now, I'm going to give you 10 minutes, which for ARV really is more than enough. Use 1 to 3 minutes with your breath control, which you're still doing, and know you're gathering information from your sub, you're getting ready to. The only job for the ego intellect is to maintain the transcript. At about 2 minutes, a narrator will remind you to turn inward, and I'll tell you when there's a minute left. And I'm now going to start your 10 minutes now.
Can I see it? And
First, let go of your physical senses, your body, and turn inward.
Okay, we have 1 minute to go. Okay, our 10 minutes are up. Let's write end or EOS, which stands for end of session, at the bottom of your transcript. Okay, excellent. And I got to do a session as well, so I feel good about that. Okay, so here we are, and now it's time to do the analysis. You finish your session. We match the transcript to 2 possible targets. Before we do the matching, I just want to tell you a little bit about the TARG scale and how we'll be doing it if you use the we approach, which we do recommend. But this all starts with Russell Targ's approach, which goes back to SRI, where he developed a 0 to 7 system that basically uses words. 0 would be no correspondence between your transcript, and you do this for each of photosite A and photosite B, and you give it a 0 to 7. Little correspondence is 1, some correct elements, but not sufficient to suggest results beyond chance. You got a few matches. 3 is you actually did get a mixture of correct and incorrect, and maybe enough to say you're right on the border, but we really don't want to make that wagerable. See, 4 is good correspondence with several matchable elements intermixed with some incorrect information. And so a 4 is a good solid one. You want to say, yep, that was good. But sometimes you don't know if it's a 3 or a 4. You give it a 3.5 and you're saying it's wagerable. I'm willing to bet a few bucks on it. 5 then gets even better. He added the words unambiguous, unique, matchable elements, and less incorrect information, but some. And then 6 or 7 get to where you name the function or you actually name the target and have less and less. In fact, for a 7, you probably have no incorrect information or very little. So that's TARG. This harsh analysis with Gestalt starts with TARG, which I just showed you, but then Joe McMonagle said, you know what? I have learned over all the years that Gestalts are very important and should be worth half of the analysis and judging rankings. And Tom McNair added this idea of harsh. He's such a nice guy in a nice way. And it sort of modifies what you mark, as I'll show you shortly. Now, what is a FIG? A first impression Gestalt. Remember, getting these are the big picture, and they're going to act as 50%. So your basic Gestalts are things like water, fluid, land versus water, shape, geometry, space, air, motion, energy, could be stationary, man-made, structure, inside, outside, natural, vegetation, biological, alive, people, animal, all of those. And all of the pieces of those could be short parts as well. So the question is, what comes in as a big picture, a dominating color, other things? Okay, now to do your analysis, you start by going to the online page where you received your coordinate. And then once you get there, I'm going to show you what to do. So we go back to that page, which I think I still have saved. Okay, so here's my page with my coordinate on it. So hopefully you can find that for yourself. And now I need to choose the file. So I've got a scanner, and I am going to see if I could scan mine in. Okay, so I'm going to do my scans, go to documents. And okay, so there it is. And I'll mark it with the coordinate. So that makes it nice and unique. And I can find it later if I want to. It's here. And hopefully, if you have any questions, let me know. 376538. Okay, so there it is. And it's in documents. So I'll go back here and I'm going to choose my file. It's in documents. It shows you how this is so precognitive because the two things are not even chosen yet. In fact, they won't be chosen. So what's happening here? Okay, I guess it's up more. Must be down here. Okay, there it is. Okay, so now I have uploaded mine. I'm going to choose it. Oh, I hit choose file twice. 3. Okay, so now you hit submit. Okay, and I don't want you to see mine. That's me. So your personal one should come up. Is that true? If it's not true, let me know. And what I'm going to do is do my judging on a different screen, but I want to show you how to do it. So you now should have in front of you your target. Okay, if you tell me, don't tell me otherwise, you've got it. And now what you do is on your transcript, which you've numbered, and I'm actually numbering mine now, including the ideograms, because they often have good information. Six. 12. Okay. You know what? Since this is all training, well, you can't see my, you can't see my transcript, but if it's a hit, I'll show it to you later. I think what I am going to do is, let's see if this will work. No, I was trying to put mine here. Well, you can look at it this way, at least a little bit. And I'm going to go through now and actually mark mine. Remember, yours is different, so please don't let mine influence you. But okay, what am my ideogram definitely shows something target like, so I'm going to give it an A. I set in mind structure, that was A. B, I had small animal. I do not see any small animal there, so I do nothing. Number 4 was outside, which is true. So outside, I give it an A. Multiple man-made structures. Oh, this is sort of one big man-made structure, but this certainly looks different than that. I'm going to choose, and you see, this is where judgment indeed comes in. I'm going to give 5. No, it's 6. I don't think my ideogram search it again. So I'm going to give 6 little a because of multiple man-made structures. That's 7, 8, 9. So 7 would get it actually a big A because it's multiple. Big A. Okay, then 8. I had wavy down. I'd say neither of those. It's interesting because I switch now to water mountain off. 12 is brown. Well, I did get that, even though I meant it to be mountain brown, but it's brown. I have 2 separate structures for 16 and 17. Why don't I give them both little a's? And 18, I guess sky. Yeah, sky is there. And then blue, and blue is there. Cool. So that's 19. Now, what do I do for the fig? You have to fill in a fig, and notice it's between 0 and 1. So I look at my transcript, the stuff I marked, the stuff I missed. I started out real, I'm going to give it a 0.7. Mostly because I had too much false stuff. So now I'll go down to the other one. Okay, so for photo side B, I do the same thing. Element 1, there are no structures. I don't see any animals. It is outside. So 4 gets a big B, right? This is photo site B. And multiple, well, I would say they're definitely multiple, but they're not. So 6 is a big B. Wavy down. What do I do about wavy? I'm going to see, I don't know what to do, so I'm going to give it a little B. That stuff looks like it's waving. No mountain, no brown, no sky, no blue, no structures, no water. Okay, so this has very little left. I'd say the Gestalt on this is either 0.1 or 0.2. I didn't even get green. It's 0.1. This is clearly not what I was trying to describe. Now, when you click here, it does all the arithmetic for you. And it's clear, and I'm putting this on my transcript. I'm finding a block, and CRA was 5.15. CRB is 1.15. So for me, and I hope you have got some equivalent, but let's go to the next step here. So I just went through this, showed you the little a, and then you do B, and then you need to click HAG, and it does the arithmetic for you, which is very nice. And that was another example. My example I showed you. And I showed you the 0 to 7 pull down menus. Well, I didn't show you this. Let's go do that next. Okay. So let me go back here. So underneath where you did the 2, this is really, so it's much more difficult to explain than it is to do. Notice under photo site A, which is here, I put in all the HAG stuff. Photo site B, put in all the HAG stuff. HAG gave me the numbers. And here's a pull down menu for 0 to 7, giving you a finite number of choices. I had 5.15, so I round that down to 5. The other one was 1.15. I make that a 1. I'm going to write clearly photo site A, doing in webinar workshop live. I don't usually do that. Now notice nowhere is it said which is up or down, but when I click submit, because some people will wager on this, now you can't with the crabs, but this now says yes. So I write next to mine, I am predicting yes. Okay. Now I have, let's see if I say any more here. Hopefully, so this is important. And the group manager gets a bunch of these so that you can make a group prediction like we'll do now with the crabs. So crap rules. If 7-11 come up, the player who has a pass line, and that's what we're going to play because that was what our tasking said, wins. If he gets 2, 3, or 12, that's called craps. He loses. If he rolls the same, the other choices are numbers 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, or 10. And then it comes down to rolling that number again, he wins. If he rolls the 7 first, he loses. This is as close as you get to even in Vegas, 1.31. I'm not going to go through the other. Let me do 2 things. First, let me find, and let me see which way we predict. It's not there. What I wanted here. I guess I don't have it unless I did it there. No, that's A3. Okay, what I'm going to show you is a few things which you don't really need to know, but why not in terms of this learning? We are a workshop webinar. The second phase is to make a prediction for the group. So I have them all here. Here's mine, which I showed you as a yes. Here's another yes. And here's Marshall's, who got a no with a 6, but the 2 yeses and 1 no. I think, let me know if those of you who are waiting are indeed going to put something in or not. So that's that. Okay, Simona, are you planning on putting one in or just watching and learning, which is fine?
I already put one in.
Okay. Oh, so you must, no, I
I'm
don't.
S
Oh
for
yeah,
Derek.
there
Yeah,
you are.
I'm
Okay,
a
so
yes.
you good. You and I, excellent. You and I went in the same direction. So it's 2-1. So as a group, we will be predicting yes. And so this is what the group manager does. Workshop webinar. Side 1 is yes. And it now says I should wait. So I will wait one more time. Okay, so I just want to make sure we put it in side 1. Yes. 1 no. Okay, so yes. And that is indeed what we predicted. We should have a prediction in our email if I did this right. I am not seeing it. Somehow I felt I was rushing, but let's see if it comes. Ah, there it is. Okay, and the prediction is yes. So now let me go find the craps, which I will do from here. Okay, so what we want is the casino. Table games. And there's craps. I'm a big spender. Go to play it for real for $1. And that's so we can get an answer. $1. Pass line. You're seeing this, correct? Correct. And so now we will roll.
Seven.
Ha ha! Since we both went in that direction, we got a hit, right? 7 is a hit. I won. They took away the $1 and gave me back 2. Very nice. I'm glad you went along with me. So now let's go. You know what? Let me close all this because it begins to take up too much bandwidth. And which one did I do? I did. Okay, so now similarly as I did before, since I'm the group manager, but now I do step 3, which is the outcome. You want to become a group manager. You can see it's not that hard. Okay. This is the right one. Yes, no, August 4th. I click that one. Webinar workshop. Choose your group and leave all else blank. Thank you. Okay, so side one was yes. The prediction was side one. So we indeed are going to click side one. There we go. I'm always checking this stuff because I do make mistakes occasionally. Okay, so the predictions one is side one. And there's that. And now go to our email. We did the prediction in line. We should now get a feedback one. Let's see, maybe I didn't click submit. Yeah, I did. This one. Okay. If it didn't show, I may have to do it again. I might have made a mistake, but that's sort of okay. Oh, here it does say outcome, webinar workshop. Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on. File printed, outcome. So I don't understand why. Did you get a email? I've actually been having some problems. Simona, did you get an email with the feedback?
I got an email. I'm going to look now what I got.
Oh,
Okay,
okay. Let's see
just a
if you,
moment.
yeah, let's see if you got the feedback email, because I have been having problems with that. And I may have to
I got
go.
it. Yes, I got the
Okay,
feedback.
good. So you can start doing your email. You know how to do the feedback. First, take your transcript and circle all the good stuff. And I am going to have to get mine because it didn't come in. Very frustrating. I need to figure out what's going on there. This is a new problem. But what I will do is go to my groups and I'll be able to get it. But since you got it, it means it's in the webinar workshop cloud. Okay, so stay calm, Marty. Go for your Omega. See, there's webinar workshop. I got lots of groups. And there it is. So I do have the feedback, but it didn't come to my regular email, but it came here. And then all I have to do is click on the link. So you can just see how easy this protocol is. I have to put in my name because they're all unique. And there it is. In fact, you saw this before, so you know it is right. So now on my transcript, and I'm going to use a different color, I am very happily, and I am happy, going to put in, I clearly got the structures. I got outside. Actually, the ideograms look really good. I took that as multiple, certainly man-made structures. I didn't get mountain. I did get the two structures, so I'm circling all of those. I got sky and blue. And you all should be doing it on yours, which is unique to you. That feels really good. I got lots. And the person who didn't get a hit, just go on your merry way. Go on for the rest of your day is what I recommend. I am now feeling really good about this. I'm going to get a new sheet of paper. Okay. I'm going to put the coordinate, of course. I'm going to end up stapling these together. 3, 7, 6, 5, 3, 8. But after it, I'm going to put PFB for positive feedback. And I can put my name and the date. Marty 8/4. I'm not sure that's. And then 1:52 p.m. Okay, webinar workshop. Okay, I've looked at that. I'm actually going to take it off the screen. And now I'm going to try it. Well, first of all, it is man-made. Structure. It's got stuff on the top, which I think was green. Rough. Gonna call that structure 1. And I had something here. I think it was brown. There was a clock. And that's about all I got from that one. Interesting. But that certainly would be enough to distinguish it from the other. And I guess that's the point. There would certainly be much more I could get from that. I'm going to work on the brown now. Okay, brown. It's even light brown. And I missed the circle. Circle would have been cool. My transcript had a circle on it. Circle. Oh yeah, sky was good. Blue. Okay. Okay, so I finished mine and I'm going to put end of session on it. So then all I do is put here, great hit. Feeling very good about it. Big smiles. This is especially happy for me since I haven't done one in a few weeks. Okay, if you want, you can go look at what you did here. You can see it'll give you an opportunity just to review. And I'm a very happy camper, and I'm going to submit this. And then we're done. Okay, so Simona, are you done with your feedback session?
Yes, I am done.
Okay, you felt good? You got a nice hit?
Yes, I think so.
Well, I know you did. Feel good about it? Did you do a good positive feedback session?
I did, yes.
Okay, you don't sound happy. I'm feeling really good.
Yeah, I'm feeling good.
Okay.
I'm submitting it now.
Oh, excellent.
Okay.
And then at the top of when you submit it, you can see your hit rate if you want. At the
Right.
end, there's a
Yeah.
link to that. Okay.
So you want me to take a picture and submit this feedback?
Is that easy for you to do or not?
I can take a picture with my phone.
Now, we don't have to do it. Let's
Okay.
let's pass on that now because they saw everything about mine.
Okay.
Okay. And the positive feedbacks are always good, you know. So I think maybe we'll stop here. And just as a review, just in all of this, just relax into source, allowing the universe to guide you. You know, easy becomes a way of being. And the positive feedback, again, only do them if you have a hit. Describe and or sketch your hit target, allowing entanglement. That's part of your intention as you do your circling and marking of all the good stuff. And I'd like to think that what you circled and mark is entangled, and that's how it got in the RV session. So that's the non-locality connection. And then you're going to reinforce that even more with a new sheet of paper, and you do another RV session, and this has got even more on it. This is the one you wished you had done. I added brown, I added more details, exact details on the structure and stuff like that. And through all of this, you should just really be adding, you know, love to the process, love to yourself, be happy, joyous, and consciously keep choosing positive emotions and feelings. You know, in some ways it seems somehow silly, but it isn't. You want to increase it. What can be hurting to make you feeling even more happy? Add a little energy to feel even more happy. Add a little more love. When your life is over, I think the more moments like that you have, no matter how they came, the better. Okay, and then I did do examples here. This was a transcript. And the person circled all that, which was good. Black, gold, yellow, figure lying down, close enough, I think, with this and the whole idea. And here's the person lying down. And there's their positive feedback picture. Here's another positive feedback picture. And okay, so we did the positive stuff. And now winding this up, this is really all about you because you do the remote viewing, you do the feedback session. You may or may not be doing the analysis, but that's irrelevant. The connection, the entanglement is between your psychic you here and your psychic you here. And it is a kind of telepathy because you're a different mind here than you were here. In fact, that's the value of it. This mind has the information about the target. Now, the universal collective consciousness is working in this non-local quantum space, and there are waves of you in there, including the waves about the correct target. And this all you is, the Akashic record, whatever you want to call this, these things are with you all the time. They were with you when you were here. You know how I know that? We just got 2 very nice hits. And so much other work. It's obviously been proven that precognition is real and spectacularly real sometime. So it really needed to come from here. And you are living in a physical world that is entangled with the non-physical realities, which are outside of space and time. That's what non-locality, it's another way of saying non-locality. And then all of this is happening in this universe of collective consciousness, which has the RVer, the feedbacker, which is you, has this omega point, which if we're choosing to and giving that energy by personally adding joy and love as we do our feedback, and even now, that's what I think ties all of this together and will get us to a consciousness tipping point. So with this, I'll close this with my normal last 2. And if there are any questions or comments, discussion, let's do it now. And any of you who look at this in the YouTube webinar, you feel free to email me with any questions. That's what I do. The key is to stay in the moment. Joy is found in the moment. The true heart's longing, love, wisdom, and freedom of being, making choices. Change your inertia moment to moment. Okay, so with that, questions, comments? Okay, so I'll end this now. Keep precogging and keep moving toward that omega consciousness reality. Bye now.